The world is a beautiful but challenging place to live. And let's face it, life hits hard sometimes. So if you find your hopes and dreams and mental well-being needs a boost, you're tuned in to the right podcast. Welcome to Inspire Us with your host, J. Paul Nadeau, a former hostage negotiator turned motivational speaker and acclaimed author of Take Control of Your Life. And now, here's your host, J. Paul Nadeau.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inspire Us. I met a man, Aubrey Noronha, who's a recognized character education and safe school speaker. Now, he believes in the possibility of a safer and more emotionally connected school culture. And through his Hello Hope Canada programs, Aubrey seeks to instill his hope for the future into the minds and hearts of youth and caring adults. He believes that once this pandemic is done, our kids will be just fine. And his hope is one that we can all use right now. Without any further delay, I'd love to introduce you to my friend, Aubrey Noronha. Hello, Aubrey, and welcome to Inspire Us.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul. I've been looking forward to this, and sorry again for the 2-week delay.
No apology necessary. What really matters is that we know that life happens and certain things can interfere with plans that we have, but we just got to go with the flow. We just got to pick up and say, hey, we're going to make it happen. And you did that. You reached out and you said, hey, I want to do this. So I am so happy to have you on my show. You have done some remarkable things in the area of school safety, helping to support children, working once in a jail setting, all that kind of stuff. I have one question I'd like to start off by asking you is, what motivated you to make a difference in so many children's lives? What was it that brought you to that place where you wanted to contribute and to help people, and especially young people, with their mental wellness?
It's a good question, and it's one that stays with me all the time. I still do a lot of youth work outside of the safe schools speaking that I do, and the thing that really has motivated me when I really think about it is people looked out for me when I was a kid. A handful of folks looked out for me. 20 years later, I'm in my 30s, and I recall a phrase that I heard somebody say once, which is, it literally takes one caring adult that could change the trajectory of your life. And I realized in my early years of becoming an adult, I want to do that. I want to change the trajectory for young guys and young girls the best that I can. And it stays with me to this day. Even the work that I do just as a youth worker, as a youth practitioner, I'm not jaded, and I've been through a few things to keep me from being jaded. I've been through a few things that could have got me to be jaded. I've had my head beat in. I've had every name in the book thrown at me, and I've had a lot of violence done towards me, especially in the work that I did in the jail facility in the past. But there's this hope that I have, that I find it causes me to see past the nonsense that I'm dealing with in the moment. If there is a lot of nonsense I'm having to deal with in the moment, working with our precious kids, and I look to the future, and it keeps me motivated. It keeps me in the game. It makes me want to continue to do this work alongside other people who care about these kids and care about who and what these kids are going to turn into, which I think will be good.
Yeah, thank you very much. And you're right, that quote, that one caring adult can really change the trajectory of a young person's life. It's so true. And especially now with COVID-19 and children, and many of our children not being able to socialize, there is a real need to reach out and support children in their formative years, because My worry, and I want your opinion on this, my worry is what COVID-19 is going to do to children. How is it going to change their world? Have you any thoughts on that particular topic?
Yeah, I've been reading a lot lately and listening to a lot. And, I talk with other speakers and other youth workers and practitioners and educators. And when this thing first began, all we thought was, okay, we just got to make sure we get to Costco in time to get enough toilet paper. and and that's all people had on their radar, right? It was just make sure I'm good for these next 2 weeks. March break might be extended, and March break of 2020, it might be extended for a couple of weeks, and it'll be just like Ray days back when I was a kid. You get through it, and we'll be back on track. We might have to catch up a little bit, and then the whole culture changed. You have the NBA stops, the MLB stops. Kids that are used to watching NBA players play the game are now watching NBA players play themselves on video game systems. They're like watching these guys play themselves in video game systems. It's so weird. And then everything else started to change. Parks started to close. You couldn't hold hands, you couldn't touch, you couldn't be around each other. And I think slowly but surely it started chipping away at the norm for so many kids, right? That norm that, what did Joni Mitchell say? You don't know what you got till it's gone. That balance of having human connection all the time in ways that we took for granted. All of a sudden we had to now take a few steps back, literally and figuratively. And I think it slowly but surely has impacted in ways that we haven't seen before. And I don't think we fully know what the total ramifications of all of this stuff will be. But it's caused depression. I was talking to a principal just 2 days ago, and she told me about how many kids are dropping out of classes in her school. The ability just to function has changed. There's a new type of functioning happening. And so while I am hopeful as to how we can help our kids, I have to acknowledge that there's a growing concern, because it's not just the kids, right? It's the caregivers that are having a hard time caring even for themselves. And so we got to figure out how to put the oxygen mask on for ourselves on this plane so that we can in turn help them.
Very well said, very profound. You're absolutely right. We are social people, and we need that physical connection. And children our younger children don't understand why it is, or many of them don't fully understand why it is that they can't play with their friends, or they can't hold hands or touch each other, hug each other, play with each other, go to the schoolyard and just run around like we did when we were kids.
Even recently, my kids and I, when my wife is at work and then we switch off so that I can do some of my youth work or my speaking, when the kids and I, we've become regional park hoppers. Now that the parks have opened up, we could tell you every park in our town and in the surrounding city. We're starting to get to the surrounding city. Like, hey, which park do you guys want to go to today? Oh, we want to go to the Eiffel Tower Park. And the only reason we call it that is because there's like this one particular statue that looks like the Eiffel Tower. What do you guys want to do today? Oh, let's go to the Rocket Ship Park. And when we go, it's like the same old conversation will happen. Number one, we have to go to a pretty much abandoned park. Number two, if there happens to be one or two more kids there, it's the same old story with the other parent. Hey, how's it going? Crazy these days, eh? Isn't it crazy? We can't encourage our kids to play. The first thing we have to say is keep space, baby. And it's so frustrating, and we are getting used to it. So it does encourage me, though, that when this is all over, or when there's any sense of normalcy again, it'll be so refreshing to be able to high five. It'll be so refreshing to hug. I took the kids tobogganing in like minus 10 degree weather, because that's what you do during a pandemic. If you want to have some fun, you go tobogganing in minus 10 degree weather. And a little boy and his mom were, 10 feet away from us, but it was like the best impromptu play date ever. We just waved. We were nowhere near each other. We just met on the hill. But the excitement in my son's eyes, in my daughter's eyes, in that little boy's eyes, it was so reminiscent of times past. And I'm looking forward to having that again.
Oh, aren't we all, though? Yes. And as much as that will bring us a lot of joy for most of us, I think there's going to be some, because I already know that there's a lot of adults who are experiencing a greater deal of anxiety and depression and loss and disconnection. And it concerns me, because I know that once the pandemic has been placed under control and it's safe for us to reintegrate with each other and to do the things that we want to do with each other, more than half, I'm afraid, of the population will not fully be able to do that because of post-traumatic stress, the anxiety that is now filtering into the body and into the mind. I posted something on social media not too long ago in which I asked a simple question. And that question was, COVID crazy or COVID creative? Which category do you stand in? And overwhelmingly, the adults, my Facebook friends, were saying COVID crazy. They were burnt out. They were feeling this anxiety, this depression.
Yeah.
Now, where the reason I say that is that if we as adults are experiencing this, how much more are our children experiencing this? And again, we covered it a little bit earlier, and you covered it very well. What is it going to do to our children once we're going to go back? Do you have any thoughts how our children are going to react? Are they going, and I hope it's going to be a joyful reunion. What do you think?
So the question is, how do I think this will impact kids when things do start returning back to normal?
That's correct.
Yeah. I feel like it will be, there's a funny word that a lot of people are using now. I mean, what is the age range of folks that are listening to Inspire Us mostly, before I tell the joke?
Well, you know what? I think we're having the probably anywhere from about 25 and up.
25 and up. Okay. I mean, you'll edit this as you see fit.
Right.
But
you got it.
You know, there are so many people using this phrase that once you leave a place of work, or if you any institution or supermarket, and you finally take off the mask, that first breath of fresh air that you have, I've heard a lot of people refer to it as an airgasm. Right?
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, okay. It's just this, you've arrived at this place of relief and pleasure, and it's just by having oxygen come into your nose and your mouth with ease. And I think that we've entered into this into this stage, rather, as a society of, it's not normal, but it's a bit of a new normal, that we have all these restrictions that have been placed on us, and we're doing our best to abide by them. And we're developing, if you will, certain psychological calluses to the difficult stimuli we're having to deal with. And I think that as parks open, or schools are opening up again, and as the opportunity to connect with one another and touch one another opens up, there will definitely be elements of timidity, I suspect, hesitancy.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of folks who are thinking, we're probably not going to be able to hold hands or touch one another outside of our home, or not wear masks for 2 or 3 years. Is that the case? I don't know. I just know that even if it takes a while for us to, kind of almost like a dog who's been abused, we've been abused by this virus, we've been abused by this pandemic, and in our own journeys towards healing and psychological and spiritual freedom, it'll take some time and some sensitivity for us to kind of get back into being comfortable and being vulnerable with one another again. It is so frustrating for people to, you've heard the expression zoomed out. Everybody's zoomed out right now. You know, you're trying to connect with folks, and you're doing your best to have it mirror what real communication looks like. But the truth is, if I'm Zoom calling with you, I'm not looking at the screen. I'm looking at that little dot at the top of my computer so that you, as the other person on the other end of this call, can at least feel like I'm paying attention to you. And you're doing the same. And it's hard, but kids aren't doing that. Kids are busy saying, hey, look at this apple I just ate. And look at the bedroom lights that I just got. You know, I think that the kids will get there. That old song, I think, is by The Offspring. The kids are going to be all right. It could be by them. I'm not sure who it's by, but I think they're going to be okay. It'll take some time. I don't think
Yeah.
it'll take too long, though.
Yeah. You know what? Having said that, what you said, you put it very, very well. And it got me thinking about the Spanish flu. And they, everybody was wearing masks and they went into lockdown and they experienced pretty much what we experienced, and we got through it like they got through it. And yeah, they went back to a normal, and I know that we are as well. And
I'll
we
share
do
something
have,
with you connected
sure,
to that phrase
yeah,
you said, we'll get through it. You mentioned, are you going COVID crazy or COVID creative?
right.
I'm very fortunate to report that I went COVID creative. Life kind of changed for me. A lot of things that I'd been holding back just exploded when this pandemic began. I released my first single. So I'm a singer outside of being a youth worker and a speaker. I'm a singer and a musician. And I released a song right in April. So right when we were just about, I think this was our first lockdown in
Yeah.
Ontario, or in the country really. And the song was called Go the Distance, and then in parentheses, Stay Inside. And I don't know if you've heard the song. If you haven't, I'll share it with you. You just have to type in Google Aubrey, Go the Distance, and the chorus simply says, stay inside, feeling like we gotta hide, keep the gap 6 feet wide, we will get through this. And so a friend of mine, his name is Promise, he's rapping on it, I'm singing on it. I'm actually about to re-release an extended version of the song now that we're headed back into lockdown part 2, in which I added a second verse. And I'm talking about how some people think this is all a big scheme, but the leaders are working hard. It's a very hopeful song. And it was just like, I think I wrote it in like 15 minutes because it was just it was a really easy time to be inspired in the midst of pain. But that was the main part. And we will get through this. So I'm with you 100% on that, Paul.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I'd love to be able to play your song, or at least make it available on my website.
Awesome.
So that would be fantastic. You're right. We being creative, and congratulations on that release, man. That's great. I have spoken to some people who have said exactly what you said, is that this has been an opportunity to really reset themselves and be creative. I have a friend who's published a couple of books, and he never would have had life been going on normally and such. Right. So there is a lot that we can get through this. It's not all bad, and we got to remember that. Now, I'd like to kind of turn around, because you've done so many remarkable things, Aubrey. And I know that you had a program called Hello Hope, in which you were helping people battling loneliness and isolation. Can you tell us about that program and what you do with that, please?
Sure. Yeah. So another thing that I've been putting more time into over the last year is my organization, Hello Hope Canada, or hellohope.ca. And this whole organization actually was birthed out of a song that I had written almost 10 years ago called Hello Hope, which I think I should be re-recording and releasing soon, because I think people need it. And the song was actually about suicide prevention. And the idea is that within the song, this individual is going through whatever they're going through, and it's hard. And they're just at this point where they're like, can anybody hear me? Is there anybody that will help me? And then the chorus basically says, hello, hope. Hello, life. Hello, opportunity strikes. There's a new day coming soon for you. Hello, hope. Hello, light. Say goodbye to all the dark nights. There's a new day coming soon for you. And the idea for me was, imagine if there was hope personified. Imagine there was a person named Hope, and your friend is struggling with whatever dark night they're struggling with, whatever dark situation in their heart that they're dealing with. And imagine you could introduce them to Hope personified. Imagine what would happen. So whether it's my speaking, whether it's the work that I did in the jails in the past, whether it's the work that I still do with youth, youth who are in so many different types of circumstances, including dealing with the justice system, I thought to myself, what kind of impact could hope do to these kids and to adults, but specifically to kids? What problems could you solve? What damage could you prevent? And what amazing feats could be accomplished in the life of a kid who is introduced to hope? So then HelloHope.com was like $15,000 to buy. So I said, well, I love my country. So HelloHope.ca it is. So Hello Hope Canada was born. And then I ended up creating these 4 talks that are dear to me. And this is all I speak about when I speak to schools and other groups. And they're all kind of with this idea that Hello Hope Canada, or Aubrey Noronha as the main dude, we have a bunch of hope in a bunch of different areas. You know, I have hope. I have a talk for guys. It's called Man Up, being a real man in unreal times. And the hope behind that is that boys and men will increasingly partner alongside girls and women as peers and will be protectors of vulnerable members of society. I have a talk just for girls. It's called Girl Up, why the world needs you to think like a girl, fight like a girl, and fly like a girl. And the hope behind that is that my hope is to increasingly foster gender equality and encourage girls and women in their identity as the leaders and the heroes that they are in the world. I came up with a talk called Colorblind, why being not racist is not good enough anymore. So that's all about anti-racism. And the hope behind that is that I have hope that a society with racist and even quote unquote non-racist ideas will eventually be outnumbered by courageous and caring anti-racist ideas and people. And then lastly, and this really connects to your question, is my talk called Hello Hope, Battling Loneliness and Isolation pre, during, and post COVID-19. And the hope behind that conversation and that presentation is that I have a hope that human connection during this time that we're in and afterwards, it's going to grow and it's going to thrive in our technical age, and it's going to replace the depression and the despair and the loneliness with an increase of empathy for our people around us. You know, so it's full of life, it's full of energy, it's full of sincerity, these talks that I do, these presentations that I do, but it's literally powered by hope. It's like I'm dealing with a lot of junk, just like a lot of folks are, and I'll admit it. You know, whether it's trying to do reading and writing with my 3-year-old, having a business call while my daughter needs something done for online schooling and this, that, and the other thing, or whether it's, you know, the fact that my aunt, she just died 2 weeks ago from COVID, you know, so it's real and it hurts. And I want us as folks, as a community of caring people to acknowledge that and live in it, or not live in it, but stay in it if we need to, for as long as we need to, and then together help one another get out. I'm just so full of that hope. Even the stuff I told you about when I used to work in the jails, getting beat right in my head, having conversations with the guys who did it. I was able to do it. So for me, that's kind of what's been on my radar for so many years now. So that's what prompted me to develop these presentations for schools, for administrators, for teachers, for parents, and for other groups.
Each and every one of those talks are so powerful in the way that you describe them, and they certainly do, I'm certain, help everyone who hears them. We need to hear these positive messages. And you have a beautiful way of delivering it. Your voice is very sincere. You're very open. I can tell that you're very caring and compassionate, and you want to make a difference in the world. And I'm sure that's exactly what you're doing right now.
Can I share
So
something really weird and funny with you?
you sure can.
Just before we logged on, my
Yeah.
something I used to do with the guys at the jail was I say, "Hey, what does your name mean?" And most of the guys wouldn't know. And so I would try to look it up, and I'd try to break it down for them, what the definition meant, and try to see if there was any connection from what the actual definition of his name was to anything that I'm seeing in his life, just from his personality or anything, interests, whatever. So literally 2 seconds before you and I logged on together, my middle name is a very uncommon name, but it's Alcuin, Alcuin. So Aubrey Alcuin Noronha, and Alcuin is my father's name. So as I'm trying to enhance my colorblind talk, the anti-racism talk, I texted my dad last night. I said, "Hey, growing up, I never heard you say your name. I always heard you say, 'Hey, my name's Al.' I said, 'Why'd you always just call yourself Al?' And he broke it down for me, being an immigrant from Pakistan, and most folks were confused by the name. He said even back home in Pakistan, and when he moved to Saudi Arabia, people still didn't know what that name meant, so they called him Ali." and
Huh.
and Noronha, my last name, got butchered even more. He said most people just called him Noor, and I thought, that sucks. That's terrible, but it explains why you always refer to yourself as Al. Anyways, I just looked up what my middle name meant, and well, Aubrey actually means moral leader. It also means king of the little people. So I'm trying to figure out how that works. Maybe it's because I worked with little kids for a long time too. But Alcuin means sanctuary friend. So when you talked about me being open, and this is the first time you and I are actually getting to see one another, I thought that's pretty cool, because my attitude, my heart, working in the jails when I worked there, working with the youth that I work with now, speaking to the teachers that I speak to and the students I speak to, is even if I have to look at this little dot on my computer, I want you to be able to see it. In fact, the founder of the Salvation Army, his name was William Booth. His wife, not as famous, her name was Catherine Booth. She said something, speaking about compassion. She said, if you can't see the tears in my eyes, I hope that you hear the tears in my voice. And so for me, it's not necessarily about tears, but about compassion, about hope, about we will get through this. I want you to hear it in my voice. So aside from the fact that I'm a singer, thank you for the compliment.
Oh, no, you're very welcome. But you know, just call it the way I see it. I speak very passionately as well, because I'm on a mission myself, you know, to help others as well. And I have absolutely enjoyed everything that you have had to say. Congratulations, those talks. How can people connect with you? How can they hear your music, buy your music, hire you as a speaker? How can people connect with you?
So hellohope.ca is the first stop. Hellohope.ca. It's a really simple, clean site to get a hold of me, to see what I'm up to. Or you can email me at Aubrey, AUBREY, at hellohope.ca. My Instagram and all of that stuff is just simply AUBREY Noronha, Aubrey Noronha, Noronha. Most people aren't going to remember that, so just go to hellohope.ca. And in terms of hiring me to speak, my calendar literally just went from 3 to 30 gigs in the last 2 weeks, and so I'm now booked all the way until June, and it's exploded. And I'm so grateful for that, especially with my particular talk, Colorblind. I've been sharing with a lot of principals in different regions, in Durham, in Toronto, in Halton, etc. You know, we need to start thinking about racism beyond Black History Month. So that's been my campaign. Let's think, let's work, let's care beyond Black History Month. And it sounds like that's on a lot of people's radar as well. So Aubrey at hellohope.ca, or just hellohope.ca, is the fastest way to get a hold of me and my music. There's links to all of that stuff there. Pretty exciting stuff. We got a couple other projects coming over soon as well. Some hip hop stuff and some folk music as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I will put all that information in the show notes along with our talk. So, Aubrey, it has been such a delight and pleasure to finally meet you and connect with you and have you on the show. You have given us such value here today. And I'm certain that all my listeners, all our listeners, will get something, a lot of value from what you said. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And I'd just like to share one thing based off of the title of your podcast. I love how simple it is. Inspire us. Done. There's so many ways you can take that. As a listener, you're thinking, all right, here's your chance. Inspire us. That's
yeah.
and I think there's nothing wrong with that at all. I said to a principal just yesterday from Oshawa, Ontario, I said, listen, man, I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm an inspirational speaker, inspiring people to get motivated. And
I love that.
Like, the fact that you and I have connected I'm so grateful for it. I hope that we get to connect some more on and off camera and on and off the microphone. But I just want to say a big shout out to you. I've seen some of your work, your TED Talk, dude. Like, you rock. And I hope that there are many, many more episodes to come from you and your book, all of this stuff. I just want people to digest that. So thank you for inspiring us. And I look forward to hanging out some more.
Thank you, Aubrey. I do as well. And we are going to connect offline, All right. So thanks for coming on.
Have a great day. Ciao.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another insightful episode. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and leave your comments. For more information, check out our website at www.inspireus.ca. Remember, it's not what happens to us that matters most. It's how we respond to what happens to us that does. Stay strong and resilient.